My project is on the butterfly movement of the Dominican Republic. I was first intrigued with this topic because a butterfly is something that starts out unimportant, unattractive, and very insignificant. And it transforms itself into something that's very beautiful and very regal, something that everybody wants to try and attain or reach. So incorporating this into the Dominican Republic, I thought would be very interesting. After doing my research on Las Hermanas Mirabal, I saw 3 women that put their lives on the line to transform their society. And not only did they change the lives of the people that lived in the Dominican Republic, but they also brought an epidemic to the entire world, a movement that has struck probably every person in our entire world. So that's what my project is on. Let's get started. The Mirabal sisters were 3 beautiful young women known throughout the Dominican Republic as Las Mariposas, or the butterflies. This role signified their choice to create a movement against Rafael Leonidas Trujillo. The sisters that fought against the regime were named Patria, Minerva, and Maria Teresa. Patria was the oldest, and she raised a family along with her husband that supported her role in the movement. Minerva was considered the true revolutionary leadership in the family because she had the courage to speak out on the oppressive tactics Trujillo and his armed forces committed against the people of the Dominican Republic. Because of her bravery in speaking out, she was widely respected among the people because no one else had the strength to speak out the way she did. Maria Teresa, although was the youngest sister, she was confident in the role she played in the underground movement against Trujillo. Trujillo's dictatorship lasted from 1930 to 1961 and filled the state with terror and violence of all kinds, which we will see later on. The Mirabal sisters began the underground resistance during his regime after witnessing so many horrors in their country. The butterfly movement originated primarily in the Dominican Republic. After growing up in such an intense time of turmoil in their country, they sought to change things around for the better. Under Trujillo's rule, it was accounted as the most totalitarian control over people that any Latin American country had theretofore experienced. His rule included instances of bribery, murder, and the disappearances of anything or anyone who challenged him. Sexual advances towards a number of unwilling women, Minerva Mirabal being one of them, along with a number of other injustices. The sisters stood for political activism and doing what was right for the people. And they agreed that they could not just idly stand by and allow someone to run the country they loved and respected so much. The fear that the citizens in the Dominican Republic carried just by living in this country and being born into this country sparked the sisters to form this fight and this movement against Trujillo's regime so that people, not only women, could take back their power once and for all. The importance of the female activism that the Mirabal sisters were trying to enforce focused on attaining justice under a tyrannical regime. The importance of their activism shined a light on protecting the traditional family and the national morality among the people. To Latin American countries especially, the women's role carried much value in their society. They essentially symbolically embodied the sanctity of the home. And so the murder of the Mirabal sisters allowed for women to actively and valiantly get involved in the revolutionary movements of the 1940s and 1950s. For the most part, men are usually seen as the ones leading these movements and creating change, especially change that involves violence, but this was not the case for the butterfly movement. The Dominican society took note of the intimate violence that was occurring against women, most notably, and as more women collectively stood up for equality and justice, The rest of the society assembled for support as well. Social conditions so far have been rooted in fear only. This resistance was known as an important violent interaction against a regime that sparked an entire movement against violence globally. Societal circumstances in the Dominican Republic for women were mainly rooted in recognizing the value in women by only the family she raises and the house she keeps. But during Trujillo's regime, women began to freely speak out about the injustices of their countries, which challenged the Latin American woman model. The length of Trujillo's regime lasted, and so did the social conditions that people were put under. They were oppressive and unchanging. That is, until the Maribel sisters decided to take a stand because they decided to live in a country that did not suppress its people. Now, the sisters went through many violent accordances to reestablish a new moral balance exempt from violence. Choosing to make a stand brought the sisters into grave danger. Fighting against norms in such an oppressive society reshaped Dominican society, but it also caused the Maribel sisters to lose their lives in the process. The official story of their personal violence is as stated. On November 25, 1960, and returning from seeing their husbands in jail in Puerto Plata, they were overtaken by Trujillo's secret agents on a lonely mountain road and strangled. Their car was then thrown off a cliff in an attempt to feign an accident. The Maribel sisters were also imprisoned on more than one occasion for their political beliefs. Their deaths ended the repression and silence in this country because these sisters stood out for an immense amount of justice, even though they lived in terror. As a result of their constant push for change in the Dominican Republic, the deaths of the Mirabal sisters was a critical moment in the country. These women decided to stand up and lead the resistance against Trujillo, which no one else would do, so their deaths took on a completely new role against the movement of violence against women. On March 8, 1997, International Women's Day, a prominent obelisk Trujillo had built to honor himself was transformed into a homage to the Mirabal sisters. The obelisk eulogizes the struggle of many men and women for Dominican liberty. The faces of these three young women are in the background picture, and they also grace the main boulevard on the seafront of Santo Domingo. Dominican people resisted a dictatorship of silence, torture, and brutal assassinations created by General Rafael Leonidas Trujillo. Not only did his regime cause fear among many people in the state, but he also erased the lives of many individuals and opened up an avenue for reinterpretation of national and racial identity to occur among the people. The social conditions Trujillo's regime inflicted we've seen so far are as gruesome as it gets, and this could have inflamed any group of people. But the people fought back when they realized that they needed to gain their power back, and using violence to obtain a peaceful, nonviolent state was deemed worth it. Fanon and Gandhi alike both understood violence to be an intricate and deep system that was rooted in society. Although Fanon believed that violence was inevitable in any important change that took place in society, the Dominican Republic society turned out to be rooted in the enduring notion that order among non-white people can be maintained only by strong discipline, especially under Trujillo's regime. Trujillo used violence to fuel his power-hungry ego, and the Mirabal sisters took advantage of his greed to start an underground movement that would dismantle his authority once and for all. Gandhi, on the other hand, spoke about how moral power was much more stronger than physical power. During the originating of the underground movement and the deaths of the Mirabal sisters, morale among the people lifted higher than ever because the people realized the oppressive regime they were under and that how if they didn't make a stand, they would all lose their lives. The Maribel sisters fought against a violent dictatorship to achieve peace for their people. Even though they died, their legacy lasted on in the form of a movement banning violence against women and girls. The Trujillo regime was deemed as a time of constant terror and uncertainty, and when the Maribel sisters were murdered, they were consequently deemed national heroines of mythic proportions. Being that women were the primary subject the murder took place on, it led a revolution against violence being pursued on women. The most enduring Dominican legends of strength and redemption are female, and the Maribel sisters were definitely one of them.